everybody, I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture.com.
And I'm Adam Cleary from WhatCulture.com. Coming up for you today, is Sami Zayn going to NXT? We'll try to answer that question.
I got backstage update on WWE's plans for Drew McIntyre.
What the hell was Ric Flair doing on Raw? We'll try to answer that question.
Something weird happened at the Performance Center last night and it involved Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman.
What the hell is Randy Orton's contract extension situation? We'll try and answer that question.
And then we'll do some Twitter questions as well, because this is the news.
I'm not well.
But we're going to kick things off by talking a little bit about WWE 2K20. Now, we don't usually do video game discussion on this channel, but as I am wearing glasses and cover wrestling for a living, I think I qualify as a fully paid up nerd and can therefore do this. So, you can't go anywhere online without tripping over the controversy, the criticism surrounding this game. It is an omni-shambles. It is a hurricane of piss, in the words of my man Malcolm Tucker. This thing stinks. It is a 7-course turd buffet, and the response has been something else. So, if you have a quick look at our WWE games, the subreddit dedicated to these showers of piss, you will see that the entire page is basically just people posting videos and GIFs of glitches from the game. Usually that Reddit, much like Squared Circle, is like performatively positive and everything shiny and rosy and blah, blah, blah. Not this time, it's a mess. If you were on Twitter last night and you looked at your little sidebar, you might have seen hashtag, what was the exact hashtag?
Don't buy 2K20 or something.
That was up there, but Fix WWE 2K20 was trending worldwide. People talking about bugs, crap character designs, those weird animations with like Ronda Rousey flipping out on the ropes and all this stuff. The thing's just a mess. And to top things off, one Twitter user tweeted at Edge because in his pre-order edition of the game,
I can't believe this.
The SmackDown 20th anniversary edition of the game, you're supposed to get a signed photo of Edge, Kurt Angle, or Rey Mysterio.
Nice.
You pay $130 for this version of the game. You're nuts, but I respect it. And he didn't get that autograph, basically. He didn't get that signed photo. Edge replied, then the support team replied and said, hey, we'll fix that up for you. But my goodness, Adam Cleary, this is an even bigger disaster than The Undertaker versus Goldberg.
Yeah, being a nerd who has flirted with the idea of doing stuff on WhatCulture Gaming in the past, I can confirm that broken video games releasing are nothing new. Assassin's Creed is famous for releasing usually quite bad. A lot of the Call of Duties tends to be that the game you buy or release is not the game you actually end up playing a few months down the line. But normally we're talking here, a few character models don't load, or there's like an area of the game you kind of advise to go away from because it does glitch every so often. What WWE 2K20 currently is not a bit buggy or a bit glitchy. It is fundamentally broken and not fit for release. The game's been out a matter of days. We should have seen one or two of these clips doing the rounds already. Like, I mean, it happens on all of them. Like, it's a complex. Yeah, we've got that. That GIF's really good. These things happen in every game. Every game has these things in them somewhere. And over the course of months and months and months, you might get a few funny clips based on it. It's been out days, and there is just an endless, as you say, shower of piss about what is wrong with this game. It's just, it might currently be the most broken on release game ever.
Like I'm obviously no expert on games and so forth, but even the WWE games themselves are, as you say, notorious for bugs like this, but not to this extent. It really is quite mental. Now, I know that the change in developers threw a spanner in the works and they claimed they didn't have enough time to make a complete product, but if you don't have a complete product,
don't put it out.
Don't put the goddamn thing out. It's just not been a good year for 2K. You know, NBA 2K, a game I play every single year, is basically just a casino simulator now. And now you've got this broken, glitchy mess of a thing with character models that look like they were made out of plasticine and Ronda Rousey flipping out on the ropes, and there's a particularly weird gif doing the rounds, you've probably seen it, of what looks like the referee being absorbed into Charlotte Flair as she applies a figure eight.
A bit ropey, that one for me.
It is a bit ropey.
Well, I will say, the 2K19 last year, while it certainly wasn't a perfect video game, it looked like they got rid of all the bugs finally. It was the least buggy one they'd ever done. We thought, so there was a lot of expectation on 2K20 because they thought, well, they've got the engine's fine. They don't need to worry about fixing the engine this time round. They can add in all these new elements, new gameplay features. There was talk about them bringing back some of the classic story modes, some of the classic career modes. They've added new customization options. It looked like being probably the best received one they've ever done. And if you've paid money for that game right now, you must be foaming. You must be fizzing.
Imagine, $50. Like, Shout outs to everyone who's like able to enjoy this game despite the problems so far. And yeah, like the bugs and stuff will be fixed with patches and stuff. Yep. But if you're able to glean some enjoyment out of this game so far, more power to you. I admire your patience, and honestly, I wish I had it.
Speaking of things that are going to rile nerds up, that's the best thing I can think of coming up for today. You were on the internet this week, weren't you? You saw Randy Orton having a bit of fun at the expense of everyone's imagination, posting a picture as he did next to the word elite and tagging in, I think it was the Bucks, Jericho, Cody, and Elias, and a few random people.
Riddick Moss.
Riddick Moss. That was. I thought Elias. First time I looked at it, I was like, Elias? Why is he tagged in that? Riddick Moss! Why is he tagged him in it? And this sent the internet into overdrive, as of course it does with speculation. Oh my god, is Randy Orton going to AEW? Almost certainly not. He was having a bit of fun at everybody's expense. But, per Fightful Sean Ross Sapp, Randy Orton's contract with WWE expires in less than a year.
Yeah. Summer of 2020?
Summer of 2020. Now, Randy Orton is a lifer in WWE. He is the quintessential sports entertainer. Michael Cole always says, you can build a sports entertainer from the ground up. You design Randy Orton. So it's very unlikely he would ever...
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
No, it's Michael Cole, mate. Get on board. Quite unlikely we would ever see Randy Orton go anywhere else. But... the kind of money that's doing the rounds and the kind of creative freedom you get and the amount of fun he likes to have, if his contract is coming to an end, it would be genuinely surprising if a phone call wasn't made from Florida to see if he was interested in doing it. Did you write the news story for this?
I wrote the news story for this.
I like that. It's a genuine Lex Luger Nitro moment if he did ever show up on Dynamite. It would be of that caliber. So, it's one to speculate about, no doubt, until he signs another 10-year contract in spring 2020. We'll be doing it, but can you see it?
I think there's a 99.99% chance that Randy Orton will stay in WWE for the rest of his life.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is, 0.01. I mean, like, there is, I guess, the outside chance that maybe Randy Orton is actually just kind of bored because he's like a 13-time world champion and he's done everything, and maybe he just wants to go and like get a payday somewhere else and try something different and only have to work one night a week rather than the 4 or 5. Although, to be fair, Randy Orton does have a reduced WWE schedule compared to some guys. But AEW, very gentle schedule. Tony Khan, lots of money, could afford him, absolutely. The Khan family can buy and sell Vince McMahon. That's not even up for debate. But him showing up there still seems a little far-fetched.
It does. However, what about this year of professional wrestling hasn't seemed far-fetched?
No part of this year makes sense.
Correct.
So, you know, speaking of things that don't make sense, Drew McIntyre, that's weird. I think Drew's really good.
Yeah.
Don't know why I went with that angle. He returns on this week's Raw. He was introduced by rambling Ric Flair as the final man in that crown jewel match. And he beat up Ricochet, had a really good match with Ricochet. David versus Goliath stuff, hard bumping. He looked really good coming out of it. Ricochet was hard bumping. Afterwards, he beat Ricochet up as well just to get some more heat. And Big Daddy Dave Meltzer has an update on his immediate WWE future. Per the swole wrestling shagger himself, Drew got that victory because WWE always wanted to give him a big rub upon returning to the company, and apparently they still plan on giving him the big push that he was apparently lined up for before his alliance with Dolph Ziggler fell apart and he kind of drifted into mid-card obscurity a little bit. So, good news, strong presentation on Raw, good things coming.
I maintain first ever British WWE champion. And I said that when he was in WCPW. That's how confident I was about all of this. So boy was my face red when we literally lost him 5 minutes after doing a show that time. Oh, well, you gotta have everything. Like, this is good news because they are crying out for a bit of fresh energy somewhere near the top of the card of that show. Seth Rollins has been, oh my god, not good as the Universal Champion. The thing with The Fiend looked like being dead exciting and they completely burst it, and Brock Lesnar's over on SmackDown now. It's just, they need some fresh energy, and I love the idea. But WWE, it's such a quintessential feud for them to do Seth Rollins face versus big, scary Drew McIntyre heel, but just look at the way the ground is set right now. Look at the way those cards are starting to stack. You've got a lot of people, even though he beat up Ricochet, people are like, yes, Drew McIntyre, love him. And even though he's the top face in the company, allegedly, everyone's like, my God, I am so bored of Seth Rollins. Weaselly heel dork feet, heel Seth Rollins versus like all-conquering giant face Drew McIntyre. Give us that and give us that now, please.
Hook me up.
Hook directly to my veins. Speaking of Ric Flair, you sort of mentioned him. You may have noticed, you may have seen indeed his little promo he did during that match. Now I say you may have seen it because you almost certainly didn't hear a goddamn word of it. Now I think that's one of the best promos they've cut on Raw, but I still maintain it was 90% illegible.
It was nonsense.
I had no idea what is going on. But according to Big Banter Dave Meltzer with the Big Banter Wrestling Observer, this was WWE's attempt to recreate a real sports feel, because you know, if you've watched the NBA or indeed BT Sports coverage of the conference, they will cut to pitch side or court side and do interviews with the performers or the managers as the match is going on. Now, as I presume it was correctly pointed out in this news point, that works because there are natural breaks in other sports, halftime, different quarters and whatnot, for you to do these things, because you need to fill the airtime. Thus, you interview the people who are relevant to it. Not in the middle of the match. No. Not as the action is going on, and literally everybody at home's like, can I see what's happening there? It was just. And you're like, I want to see, is he hitting him? He's just done a really cool drop kick. I want to see what happens with that. It was just, God, it was really, really, really bad. And I have to say, fair play as well to Schreiber for keeping that going, because she was like,
come on, Rick. Yeah.
She'll never ever do that again as long as she lives, if she gets the choice.
She looked absolutely shook by the whole thing.
I was terrified of it, and I was on the other side of the screen, watching it hours after it had happened. She was living that.
This version of Ric Flair really is something else. Yeah, I'm not sure we need this to happen again. It was a nice little experiment. Apparently they're trying to copy real sports, as you've said, but yeah, in wrestling, I don't know. I'd rather just watch the action.
If you want to copy real sports, WWE, I beg, have an off-season.
Hey,
please.
Oh, that'd be nice. Little break from Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about an actual real sportsman, Tyson Fury. Obviously, he's facing Big Bad Braun Strowman at Big Bad Crown Jewel next week. That's going to be an interesting match, because I have no idea what to expect from it. But WWE filmed an angle at the Performance Center that they put up on their YouTube channel last night. It's a bit weird. It's Tyson's training for the match. He's running the ropes. He's doing some Braun-esque shoulder smashes into some little jobber guy. He's with a trainer. He smiles. He's having fun. He's laughing. He's joking. Great stuff until he goes to hit the ropes one more time. And who comes out but Braun, who knocks him on his ass. Braun starts laughing. Tyson's on the floor holding his ankle, which is an interesting move. Flooded by trainers and people. Braun leaves, still laughing. Tyson hobbles to his feet, so clearly he's going to be selling some kind of, or you'd think he'll be selling some kind of ankle injury going into the match, which is an odd move, because you wouldn't expect Braun and Tyson Fury to have a methodical limb-based match, but that might be what they're about to do. Either way, what do you think of this little thing?
I did a competitors podcast last night, and during the Q&A section, someone submitted a wrestling question, specifically about what do I think will happen with Tyson Fury being in the WWE, and I then answered for a solid 10 minutes, going round and round in circles in my own head about why this was a great idea, but why they've done it so badly it's going to end up being bad, but all the less, it'll still be quite fun for those of us in attendance. Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar gives them a problem with this, because given that it's just a celebrity in a ring with a WWE star, nobody's going to really expect much. You could just do a screwy finish, you could do loads of interferences, you could do whatever you want. It's just a bit of entertainment. But by the same token, if they do that, then they'd have to have a conclusive finish between Kane and Brock Lesnar. So, Tyson Fury versus Braun Strowman is probably the one they're going to lean on to have the bit of the shenanigans in, because it's the one, in the grand scheme of things, the result is not important on. There's certainly not, for example, the WWE Championship at stake. I have absolutely no idea how they get themselves out of this in a satisfying way for those watching, although I will say that doesn't normally bother them whenever they're booking these matches. No. How can you honestly see any scenario in which they actually let Braun Strowman lose to Tyson Fury?
Yeah, because they're stupid and they're probably paying Tyson Fury a lot of money. I can absolutely see Tyson Fury just tapping Braun on the chin and knocking him out almost straight away to hide his weaknesses, because it's WWE. Nothing's off the decks. They're really dumb and they can't book and they don't look after their full-time stars and they don't know how to make stars and they don't know how to present anyone as special.
We always say though, every time they do the Braun thing, which is build, oh, he's just lost, and usually looks like a dick in the process of losing. We always say, right after he comes out on Raw and beats up the entire tag division, or he just gets his heat back somehow, we always say, surely there's a finite amount of these they can do now, where we're willing to buy into Braun's monster persona purely off the back of what he does the night after he loses.
Yeah.
Surely, and bear in mind as well, this isn't a pay-per-view. This is a Thursday show, right? So we literally have to fly all the way and appear on SmackDown to get that heat back the day after. Otherwise, you're waiting 4 or 5 days for it.
Yeah, the idea of getting that heat back is the problem in the first place with WWE, isn't it?
This is the thing, right? I don't think you can have Tyson Fury lose because he's still got aspirations of having heavyweight title fights. Can you imagine his opponent? Well, I don't know. The guy who's wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling is not well received in the world of boxing. So I think realistically, if he doesn't win, he's finished in boxing. Because how do you book that? oh, you want to take me on, do you, in a heavyweight boxing match? He just went and did WWE, which isn't real, and still lost.
Let's just hope it's funny. That's all we can.
Oh, don't get me wrong. When I came back round after doing this 10-minute point, my thing was like, I actually don't care what they do because I'll have a fun time watching it. All the best.
Sami Zayn.
So yeah, speaking of a fun time watching it, Sami Zayn has been a fun time watching him as the mouthpiece for Shinsuke Nakamura. However, he hasn't had a wrestling match since August. Now, problem with that is, he is a wrestler.
Yes.
It's not like he's not Paul Heyman. He can't really get away with just being a mouthpiece for this long. The guy's employed as a professional wrestler. We enjoy seeing him as a professional wrestler, and whenever they put you in these angles where you're not being a professional wrestler, we hope it's because it will eventually lead to you being a professional wrestler once again. And there is talk again today that he was, what was it? This Daniel Vido guy, Vido. He hasn't yet debuted on NXT TV. He's done a total of something like 21 untelevised matches. Yet, Sami Zayn ended up in an altercation with him at the Performance Center on their current tour of Australia.
In Brisbane, on a show.
Huh?
In Brisbane, on a show.
Oh, it's Performance Center Athlete, that's it, in Brisbane. He ended up in an altercation with him, purely to pop the crowd, you might imagine there. However, this has rumbled on and on and on and on since, and there's videos come out and he said, oh, I respect the guy, but he can't be doing this. So there is talk that Sami Zayn could be brought into NXT to start a rivalry with him. Now, Sami Zayn isn't exactly going to Crown Jewel.
No, absolutely
because he's
not.
never ever allowed to go to these Saudi Arabia shows, and we've seen in the past when somebody's unable to fulfill these obligations, they are moving them around the company. Daniel Bryan, it's fairly obvious, lost the WWE Championship so they could not have to use him on these shows. Finn Balor's now moved to NXT. People are starting to realise, oh wait, outspoken proponent of LGBT rights, Finn Balor no longer has to do Saudi Arabia shows. That's slightly suspicious. Obviously, John Cena's refused to work them. Kevin Owens, I think, has refused to work them in the past. This could be a way of getting around that problem for them. Now, it's a shame, but also, if you're watching NXT like I am, that's great.
It is. There's good and bad to it. Obviously, I think a lot of people would like to see Sami wrestling on big stages, which technically is Raw and SmackDown, even though the shows are kind of uneven. But you know, NXT has the appeal. They will let him wrestle, which is what a lot of people want to see. They'll let him wrestle to the fullest of his abilities, which he hasn't been able to do in a while. He won't have to put up with just being a manager. He'll probably have a bit more. Yeah, no, this is just a good idea.
It is a good idea because for all his mouthpiece work has been excellent for Nakamura, it is just excellent in its own right. And if he was the one subsequently having the matches, rolling out the ring to cut promos, just sitting on commentary when he can't be bothered, I think it would be just as entertaining. I think right now NXT sort of lacks someone who's really, really good on the mic. Balor's come back, but like mic work's never been his strong suit. The Undisputed Era are fantastic at it, but nobody they're really feuding with has got that kind of thing. Like Ciampa's best when he's saying very little at all. Johnny Gargano's a bit cliche when he gets on the mic. Velveteen Dream, I think, stumbles really badly when expected to lead a promo. They could really, really use somebody like this.
Yeah,
especially,
they could.
They've just lost the Street Profits effectively to Raw, and they were the best thing on the mic going for a long time. So I can see the gap in NXT where they could really, really do with having this.
Yeah, it could, just as long as they introduce him in a way that's a bit more interesting than two guys looking at each other for like 30 seconds. That's really boring, and you do it every week. Fix it up, NXT. Anyway, shall we move on?
See, that's dreadful airtime, isn't it? We only did 5 seconds of it.
It's not good, not good. Twitter questions. First of all, first one
these are always death.
Comes from Sam Long, is he? He asked...
Sam Long?
Whoa. With Survivor Series only a few months away, which format would you like to see the pay-per-view follow this year? Brand Warfare or a normal structure?
It's not even a few months away.
It's like a few...
It's a month away.
3 weeks or something?
Jesus. I like the Brand Warfare stuff. It feels a bit... The timing of it's bad because we've just had that much changing over and we've just had the draft, so it's like... It doesn't have that special aura of, oh, matches I never thought I'd see, because it could very easily end up being Raw versus SmackDown with matches between two people who were just on the same brand a few weeks ago. However, I do like the format of it. It is the one time of the year where they get to do that. So, yeah, I'd still let them stick with that.
Yeah, I'm not totally sick of Brand Warfare myself either, although I don't really like the feuds leading up to it unless Becky Lynch gets bludgeoned by Nia Jax.
I think, by the way, this year, that's what I'm going to go with for Halloween.
Bloody Becky.
Busted face Becky Lynch.
Nice.
I think I might do that.
Nice. In that case, I'll go as Nia Jax.
Nice.
Cool. Next one comes from Christopher Blade, who asks, simple question, who do you think is going to take the AEW title off Chris Jericho, and who would you go for if it was going to be a shock? change.
If it was going to be a shock change, Jesus. The problem with shock changes is you very, 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 very rarely see them where it's a face taking off a heel.
Yeah.
I think their options for doing a shock change that way around at the minute are limited because there's not really, other than the very far realms of possibility, I don't think you've got like a major underdog, credible babyface. Like Darby Allin, there was enough believability in him winning that match for them to book it. So maybe they could have done it with him, but if they weren't going to do that, I think you're going like slightly further down the card. Personally, I think it'll be Omega. I think they've got to build to him showing why he's the best wrestler in the world and then getting that title. Personally, I think that's why they're doing it. I think anything though at the minute would constitute a shock change because it doesn't really feel like there's anybody on that show at the minute who is like screaming AEW World Champion. No. Other than Jericho.
I think Jericho, for me, has got to hold the belt for 6 to 9 months.
I agree.
Personally, like as things stand, looking at the roster right now, I would have Jon Moxley win it purely because he's a jolt of energy as soon as he walks into any building. That might wear off, though. You never know. If you were going for a shock one, though, I could see them doing MJF. I mean, you're doing the Cody feud right now. MJF, you know, he's still a rising star. He hasn't wrestled on Dynamite yet and all this other stuff. But, like, they're doing the Cody feud right now. Cody's probably losing at Full Gear. He's almost certainly losing at Full Gear. MJF's his best friend. You could see an angle where MJF stands up for Cody afterwards and does the pseudo babyface thing he does when he's in Cody's corner. Steps up, somehow wins the belt. I don't think it'll happen, but I could see them doing it. Luchasaurus. Get well soon, big dog. Viking Badass with our final question of the day. I think
to Mr. and Mrs. Badass or Son Viking.
that might actually be the one that Raymond Rowe plays. Eric or Ivar. Can't tell the difference between their names because I'm a moron. He asks, what kind of match do you think this Bobby Lashley versus Rusev feud will go? I think it will end with a Lana on a pole match.
Well, there you go. That's exactly what I was going to say. Lana on a pole. They'll probably bring the Shark Cage back with it.
Yeah, they might.
Because, Jane, do you think, honestly, because remember the first time they introduced it, as soon as they did, there was the toy range came out.
Yep.
And they were like, wow, that's a bit weird. Enzo in a shark cage. And then we had, what's his face?
Paul Ellering
in a shark cage. They've obviously got the prop somewhere, and it's been about the right amount of time since they used it. And look, I'll put it this way, right? Given what Lana likes to wear, if you do Lana in a shark cage, the value of front row tickets at that show will go 5, 6, 7 times
Just
on
put her on a forklift.
Put her on a forklift,
Yeah.
put her on a pole doing sexy pole dancing that's in a shark cage but elevated by a forklift.
Let's get really morbid with it. What about we bring back remember when Paul Bearer was buried alive in cement?
Yes.
The loser has to bury Lana alive in cement. Let's kill someone on air.
To be fair, I think the whole gimmick is that Bobby Lashley is burying her alive every single night on Raw.
Burying himself alive.
Burying himself, yeah, up to his nuts.
Anyway, thank you for joining us today on this in-depth discussion of Bobby Lashley's bollocks. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Send us your questions. Hashtag this is the news. Hashtag good after news stuff. You can follow Adam Cleary on Twitter at
Adam Cleary, CLERY.
You can follow me on Twitter at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Julio, which actually begins with a J.
That's true.
I'm a moron. Goodbye.
Oh.